Today, we are here to discuss one important topic, inflation and its types. We all know that in the economy, one most important problem is vagaries of inflation and depressions or deflation. Inflation is a broad rise in price of goods and services across the economy. And we all know that any of the examination, in any of the interview, you will be ready to reply at least one question from inflation. Inflation and its types. What are its types? Inflation, hyperinflation, deflation, demand pull inflation, energy, CPI inflation, exchange rate inflation, wage inflation, monetary policy waste inflation, food inflation, impact of savings and inflation, interest rate adjustments and inflation, money supply and inflation, creeping inflation, galloping inflation, walking inflation, inflation due to monetary devaluation, producer price index inflation, and how to measure inflation. So we will discuss today inflation and its different types. Inflation is the broad rise in the price of goods and services across the economy. Across the economy. Typically, inflation goes hand in hand hand in hand with economic growth. And an overheated economy and over overheated economy is one possible cause of higher inflation. Inflation is the broad rise in the price of goods and services across the economy. We are discuss. This is Dr. P.C. Verma, economist, YouTube class economics. We are discussing inflation and its different types. Inflation is the broad rise in the price of goods and services across the economy. Typically, inflation goes hand in hand with economic growth. When someone asks you what's the relation between inflation and economic growth, you will tell that inflation and economic growth both have direct relationship. When there is rise in inflation, at the same time there is rise in economic growth. Therefore, inflation goes hand in hand with economic growth. An overheated economy is one possible cause for higher inflation. Conversely, recessions typically cause inflation to slow. Conversely, recession typically cause inflation to slow. The relationship is intuitive. Relationship is The relationship is intuitive. In an economy, running hot, running hot by operating by operating above its long-term potential, its long-term potential. Price increases, price price increases are necessary. Price increases are price increases are necessary to ration, necessary to ration ration labor and other scarce input. And other scarce inputs and to offset to offset to offset most increased production cost, to offset those increased production cost. production cost. Meanwhile, meanwhile, a contracting economy contracting economy with lots of spare capacity, with lots of lots of spare capacity, spare capacity retains price hikes price hike and wages wages increases as demand slows. So during inflation period, too much money chase after too few commodities. During inflation, so during the inflation period, too much money chase after too few goods. different types of inflation, different types of inflation, inflation, hyper hyperinflation, demand pull, inflation, energy, CPI, inflation, wage inflation, creeping inflation, galloping inflation, so, 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 Galloping inflation walking inflation producer price index PPI inflation. Money supply inflation. Interest rate adjustment inflation. Interest rate adjustment inflation. impact of saving inflation. Monetary policy created inflation. Exchange rates created inflation. Monetary monetary devaluation monetary devaluation created inflation mixed inflation. Thus we see that Spelling of helicopter. Helicopter spelling.
Helicopter is spelled Helicopter.
Thus we come to the conclusion that in economics nowadays variety of inflation term is used at different practices in European countries, in the USA, in the uh, in the United Kingdom, and European nations, and in Asia, India, China, Japan. So there are large number of inflation. I mentioned here 18 types of inflation, and I will try to complete all these 18 inflation discussion in next classes. So you have to watch my class regularly and find out the discussions on this types of inflation. At graduation level, we taught students generally demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, and its combination is mixed inflation. Likewise, we in terms of speed, we talk about creeping inflation, walking inflation, galloping inflation, hyperinflation. So we will discuss all these things, and at last what I say, that you read it and like it, subscribe it, and comment at least one line. At least you desire what you want. At least your criticism that you don't want this, you want that. Once I have seen a student from Assam has written that I want these topics for their banking interview. So if possible, you taught these 3 topics. And surprisingly, he was selected and he got the material. Students, all students are brilliant in our country. Brain of Indian at large is full of energy, intelligence, sensations, and that require only some source of patting by the elders and teachers and encourage them, they will do many things which you will not expect it. Just to see the NEET examination, 100 out of 100. 100% students received. Likewise, in my classes, there are students who are working in as IAS or allied services, many students, and one of them have even a talk on my Dr. P.C. Verma Economics YouTube channel. He came here and he had a talk about it. He got 80% marks in economics. One student recently, I know that he is no more, he died in a car accident. Abhay Jha. He got 79% marks and become the Commissioner GST. So I always try to improve myself, thinking myself as a student. I'm not a teacher, I'm a student. Because every day I read and write as a student. This is a type of practice. I learned from those economists who worked hard. I have read their history, their life. I have written about Marshall. Marshall worked 12 hours per day teaching students and writing books, reading himself. He visited USA to know about the development of the new country. He called the USA as a new nation because in 1776 got independence. At the same time, Adam Smith has written a book, Wealth of Nation. Full name, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of Wealth of Nation. And after 100 years, 1876 and 1775 or 1876, like 100 years. What is the development of the country? When he visited United States of America and different important places he visited, and he was offered some books to read. He stayed there 4 months and invested all time in reading and writing about the protection policy versus laissez-faire or free trade. So he had a stone in his kidney. His health is falling, but he was bent upon reading, writing. So this reading, writing is personal interest. If you have personal interest, if you desire to read, because as much as you read, your internal power, your depth of knowledge, your method of analysis will be different, and you will attain the achievement which you wanted to attain. So just to write your aim, not writing comment, you write what's your aim. If you have read my classes material, then you write that I want to become this. This will give a starting. And in that way, I'm visible to you. You are invisible to me. But by few words, I could know that what you want and on which pitch you should work hard to attain your result. So in coming classes, I will discuss one by one 18 types of inflation so that there will be clarity of the things and facts you have. Thank you very much for watching my classes video. Like it, subscribe it, and comment it. Thank you.